everyone. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. I am here with Kev and with Gav. We are going to talk through the Liverpool-Newcastle match preview for this weekend. Might touch on a couple other things, maybe the fantastic show from last night, for which I cannot hope to live up to as a host. But, if you haven't caught that show, I highly encourage you to do it because, we did something a little bit different last night. And when I say Matt outdid himself, he set the bar so incredibly high, and it's very on brand for this week. So if you need something to, get you in the spirit for St. Patrick's Day, check out the Patreon because there is a fantastic, absolutely bonkers show that Gav and Matt did last night. But yeah, so just a taster. If you're interested, go for that. But going back to what we are here for, there's a big game coming up, guys. There's a trophy that's on the table this weekend, and it's a big game for both teams. For us, defending champions, this is the cup that we won last year under amazing circumstances. For Newcastle, this is going on 70 years to the day without a trophy. Kev, what are your feelings going into this match? How are you feeling after everything's kind of simmered down over the course of this week? We've had a chance to digest. We've heard Slot talk. How are you feeling going into the weekend now?
I'm always looking forward to the next game. You got to, but it's probably best that it is a cup final, that it is something like, it's easy to get up for this one. You're going to be tested. You're against a good side, despite the fact that we've got a really good record against Newcastle in recent years. Surprisingly good, actually. I'm just seeing it here. In our last 17 meetings against Newcastle, with 12 wins and 5 draws. But I keep having this thing in the back of my head. 2 years ago, that Newcastle went into the League Cup final against Manchester United as favourites, and they had their pants taken down. And it was the game that Nick Pope got suspended for because of his foul on Salah. And they ended up having to play Karius and go. And they were like going into that final thinking, the whole city was up for it. There was bunting out everywhere, and they were really excited, really looking forward to it. This time around, they had the Sky reporters up around Newcastle today, and it's very subdued, very low-key. And they're going in as the underdogs, like Chelsea went in last season as favourites against us because of the squad situation that we had. And yet we come away with a win. I always had this thing in the back of my head with the League Cup final. Anything could happen in this one. They are a good side. They have got injuries. We are the favourites. We're expected to go there and win and put a response into the PSG game. We have got a depth in the squad that we have options on the bench. They probably don't. Not as much, not as many anyway. So it's all on us to go and win it and make sure we don't get embarrassed by this Newcastle in the situation that they're in. Both clubs are desperate to win this for different reasons. Newcastle, obviously, because of the investment that the Saudi owners have pumped into that club, they're going to win a trophy at some point. That's it. It's inevitable that they will win something at some point. You just don't want it to be against you. And that's where I look at this Sunday. It's got a banana skin written all over it. If we're not 100% at it, if we go in not with the right mentality, we could get turned over in this one. That's just straight up facts. They are a good side and they have got threats, especially up front. And by the looks of the press conference that they did today, Isak and Bruno Guimaraes were up front doing it.
Yeah.
And Isak was saying, I'm fit, I'm carrying an injury, but every player at this time of the season carries little knocks and everything like that. So he's fully expecting to be able to play 90, maybe 120 minutes. And that's the other thing. Can we do back-to-back 120 minutes if we need to? So all questions at the minute, we just don't know. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not in the mindset that this is going to be a walkover. This is going to be anything but. This will be a really tough day at the office.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot on the line for both clubs. I think what you're talking about in terms of bouncing back from PSG is it's a great problem to have, where you can immediately bounce back from a bad result with a, potential trophy. The other thing that Liverpool have on the table is that they could equal Manchester United's record for most domestic cups. So right now, I believe it would be 20 for each of them, either 19 or 20. So that's sort of another kind of little sidebar. But I think really what this is all about is getting the performance from this weekend or from this last week out of the system and really moving on and making sure that, we kind of keep momentum for the rest of the season. And Gav, it was really interesting to hear Slot talk about this week. He was actually very positive about the performance from the team. He seemed to have a glowing review of PSG, but in general, he was really proud of his team. How are you feeling about where the team is at, and what you're expecting from them this weekend? Are you expecting a really strong performance where they bounce back and they immediately, take action after that disappointment? Do you think there might be a hangover? What's your kind of gauge of what's going to happen?
I don't. I don't think the PSG game has any bearing on it. To be fair, I think the 5 days between games. They play Southampton on Saturday, didn't they? And they come into 3 days later. They come into PSG. A PSG side that deserved to probably go through over the two legs. I think Liverpool were a bit unlucky on Tuesday night with some, hitting the post, and Salah should probably score early on. But I think as the game went on, the team PSG had out, who had a rest at the weekend. I think he made 8 changes at the weekend, and you could see that as it went on. Liverpool were bringing players on, but a lot of them have a lot of minutes in their legs. Probably not, Elliot and stuff like that, maybe not, but a lot of those players on the team had a lot of minutes in their legs. But listen, there's 5 days between these games. Liverpool went out at the weekend or on Tuesday. They didn't lose. They lost on the night, but they didn't, they weren't beaten out the gate by PSG, the sort of way. In a game, it was a brilliant 2 legs of football, to be fair. What am I thinking? I don't want this to come across the wrong way, right? And people probably go, what are you talking about? Whatever happens on Sunday happens. Genuinely. If Liverpool win on Sunday, I'll be fucking thrilled. If Liverpool lose on Sunday, I'll be like, fucking hell. But all I care about was the league title. I really do. And I've said this to numerous people even before Tuesday night. I said, look, if we go through, brilliant. We can map out what we want to do for the rest of the season. The league position is brilliant because we can probably, take a little lean off the league if we're looking later on the Champions League. But all I want is the league. And that's not me going, you're a bit salty over Tuesday night. Not at all. I thoroughly enjoyed Tuesday night. Didn't enjoy the end bit, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching Liverpool, because you have to remember, this squad were getting their arses handed to them by Atalanta in the Europa League last season. Let's be fair, right?
The same squad with no additions, really. I mean,
that's what was happening, right? So you have to look at progression. And I think Liverpool have been fantastic in the league this season. The way they've approached it, the way they've won games, the way they've dominated games at times, the way they've got luck at times. But it's all about progression. And we've heard about Slot being, assessing things and looking. But Slot's no idiot. Slot will look and say, we might get caught in this Champions League against a team that's just brilliant over 2 legs. If PSG drop 5% in either of them games, we're through. You know what I mean? And he has to be looking at the progression of this team. A huge progression is, I think Champions League, we've been really good in it. The FA Cup, okay, what he does there. The League Cup, we've been excellent in it. The League, we've been excellent in. And I'm not hinging everything on this Sunday. It'd be brilliant to win it. Don't get me wrong. It'd be amazing to win it. But to be honest, if it comes to 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock Sunday night and Liverpool have lost on penalties or whatever it might be, I'll be upset, but I'll shrug it off very quickly and I'll be just targeting Everton on April the 2nd. I think it's April the 2nd we play. And that's where I am with it. Going into the game itself, I'm excited by it. I really am. I'm excited by the game. I think it's a really good matchup, these two teams. The styles that they play, I think, turns into good games. They really, really do. And just bring it on. I don't think Tuesday night will have much of a bearing. I think players will be ready to go 5 days, and people will say, as confidence evaporated, this team, for me, and a lot of individuals in it, they thrive off proving people wrong. They thrive off bouncing back. They thrive off showing people, look, Tuesday happened, but that's not us. The sort of way. So I'm just really, I'm really excited by the game on Sunday, but I won't be hinging my season on it whatsoever. And that's not me being defeatist or making excuses before the fact. It's just not. It's all I want to do is get 4 more league wins. One of them included Arsenal being one of them, and that's my lot. I'm happy, and that's where I am.
Yeah. I think it's actually really interesting the way that the media narrative has sort of shifted. A lot of the stuff that I've heard recently has been very down on Liverpool. It's been very much like oh, they went from being able to win 4 trophies to only being able to win 2. It's like only 2 trophies. Like we're talking about this like it's a massive downgrade.
Yeah, but everybody goes from being able to win 4 trophies down to 2
That's
trophies,
true.
but you just don't make a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah, but for some reason, when it's us, it's like, oh my gosh, they're falling off a cliff. They're in crisis. They're this, and I'm so sick of the narratives. I mean, I know we talk. There's a lot of narrative corner that happened last night's show, but I mean, it's just amazing to see how the media has somehow managed to make Slot being in line for potentially 2 trophies seem like such a huge disappointment. And you think about Slot, he's never even been to Wembley. This is going to be his first time going to Wembley Stadium as a coach. I believe it's his 4th final overall. His record is 1 win, 2 losses. So this is going to be a really big day for Slot. And I'm kind of just sick of the media playing it down, because for him to be able to get to this point with the team that basically is the same team from last year, like you said, that lost to Atalanta, I think it's an amazing achievement. Kev, how do you think that Slot's going to be feeling going into this? Do you think, do you think he's going to be overwhelmed by the idea of this being his first, your first English trophy that he could win? Do you think he's just going to take it in his stride? Like, I mean, he seemed pretty laid back in his interviews today. He had a great interview one-on-one outside of the press conference where he just talked about how much he was excited to go to Wembley and how much it meant not only to the English fans, but also the Dutch fans.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. I'm going to keep an eye out. Probably do watch some of the stuff tomorrow. I think he seems like the kind of character that just is very methodical in how he approaches the build up to games. He's like, okay, I got to do the press conference now. We'll train here. We'll travel down. We'll go to the game. We'll win the game. We'll do this. It's very step by step, almost like very analytical. Put him on the sideline, anything goes wrong, he's a nutball. He's an absolute head in the ball.
I'm glad he's going to be back on the sidelines for this one because, he has been off for a little while.
That was the worry, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
If the ban wasn't handed out when it was handed out, then he would have missed this.
Yep, and without the apology that he made, it would have been a 3.
It would have been a 3-game ban. Yeah,
it would have been a 3-game ban. So
I'd have taken it just to tell Oliver to fuck off. To be fair,
I mean, there's 2 things here, right? I think the media are desperate for this league to somehow get close. I mean, they know odds are Liverpool are going to win it. It's just a case of when. They can't handle the fact that we could really win this by a massive margin, and they're not equipped to deal with it. Because everyone else in the league, from Arsenal down, we were talking about it last night, from Arsenal down to 10th or 11th, there really isn't much in it. It's a couple of wins against each other, anything can happen and anyone can finish anywhere. The media isn't really geared up for one side, just pulling away and running away with it. But for the way we approach this, I think it'll be just another game. There's enough experience in that squad of how to win and how to get one over the line. And for some of the players, I'd say most of the players that are in the squad now know. They know where they're going to be playing next year. They know what decisions are. I don't care what they say publicly. If
Slot's anything to go by, he has no idea what's happening.
Managers and players lie through their teeth at every step of the way. They always do. I would be gobsmacked that if you're heading into April, that players don't know where their futures are lying. So for some of these players, it could be their last chance to win a trophy for Liverpool, a cup trophy. Mm-hmm. And if you're in it, you want to go home in it. They've worked hard all the way through. This is one thing I love about the League Cup. I've always said it. It's a squad game. This is the one that I think the squad celebrate more than anything, because it's the squad that gets you into the position to fight for it at the end of the day. So the early rounds of the League Cup, you're going to get massive rotation. It's going to be the likes of Endo's going to start. Bradley comes in. You might see a couple of kids. The Kwanzaa plays all the way through. And then you get to semi-final and it's okay, who's fit? Who do we need to rest? And you go as strong as you can to go get to a final. and then you get to a final, you want to win it. But I think it's one domestic trophy, probably over the FA Cup actually, where everyone is invested in it. Everyone has something riding on it because everyone has contributed to it, and they'll want to go and win it. You know, the fact that you can do it back to back makes it even better. Plus the fact that it's Slot's first chance to win a trophy, get that one over the line. It's a hurdle you can get out of the way quickly, because if you don't get it over the line, it can roll on, and then a couple of league results don't go your way, and then more questions are asked of you. So you just want to, I mean, where we are in the league is a joke anyway. It's just so unexpected. But where we are at the minute, you're in a final, you want to do your best to go and win it. And I think that has to be the attitude going into it. And the best thing about it, you're not playing against an unknown. Like playing against PSG, a young PSG side that is flying. It is relatively unknown, because we don't come up against that type of football very often. We know exactly what you're going to get with Newcastle. There's no secrets. There's no surprises. Yeah. You know how they're going to play. You know how they're going to line up. You could probably pick their 11, you know, and they could probably pick ours. You know,
yeah, well, I mean, we'll get to that, because there are some interesting questions in terms of what our 11 is.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at Newcastle and I think, you know, we've had two very different games against them this year. I think, you know, we saw back in December a little bit more of a defensive 50, or not defensive, midfield 50-50. I think that they really stepped up with energy, and they really pressed us in a way that we weren't expecting. We had that kind of late Kelleher, you know, snafu that we would probably wish could never have happened. And then we saw recently the game just a couple of weeks ago, where it was very much a defensive display, where we had a lot of counterattacks, but it really felt quite dominant. Gab, what are you expecting in terms of stylistically? Are you expecting more like the December game, or more like the most recent game from a couple weeks ago?
First of all, I don't think Newcastle will change the way they're going to play. You know, Davey is a Newcastle fan. He's in the chat there, and he seems like a lovely fella, to be fair. Very measured in what he's saying, and I'm reading what he's saying there, and I'm actually nodding along.
It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah,
I'm getting the insight.
I'm nodding along as I'm reading his comments, to be fair, because look, they're missing Anthony Gordon. He's a huge miss to them, especially with the fact that Bradley and Trent are injured and won't play. It'll probably be Quansah at right back. I'm wondering, will he do something different at right back, but we might get on to that later. Newcastle are going to go in here and they're going to look to protect that back four, because the back four of Trippier, Schär, Burns, and Livramento, I think so, doesn't fill you with confidence if you're turning around and running back toward your own goal. Right? Physically, I think they're okay. In midfield, you're going to have Tonali, Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and they're, first of all, really good footballers. People just think they're mad physical and that's it. They're not. They're good footballers. They are really good footballers. And you'll have, I think they'll go with Isaac. I think they'll go with maybe Harvey Barnes and
like Murphy.
What's his name on the right?
Jacob Murphy.
Yeah, right.
Jacob Murphy,
yeah. So I think they'll go with that. That's you're gonna get high intensity, physical from Newcastle. But when they look to get on top of you with that, they actually play good football, because they have players that can turn you. They have players that can play intricate passes. There's a lot of strings to their ball. It's not just, they're really physical and they're just, and they bundle it over the line. It's not like that at all. Liverpool know that's coming. They knew it was coming in St. James's Park and didn't really deal with it for the first 45. They knew it was coming at Anfield, got themselves in front. They were minus Isaac, of course, but they knew it was coming. And second half went, listen, you have it if you want, and we'll just turn you around. And they constantly turned Newcastle around, and that was a big issue for Newcastle. What I'm looking for from Liverpool is, we're going on about Murphy or such and such on this big pitch. The big pitch is big for everybody, so as much as you turn around and you say, what about if Murphy's looking to run off Robertson, or Isaac has space to run into, or if Harvey Barnes gets one-on-one with such and such, yeah, that's going to happen. But it's also going to happen where Luis Diaz might be one-on-one with Livramento or Trippier. Salah will be doing the same on the other side. Players will look to get in behind the two centre halves. Liverpool need to go out into this one and say to themselves, we know the battle is coming. We know we have to be right up, not winning every second ball, but contesting everything and hoping then that, in my opinion, our better quality going forward show us, the sort of way. Isaac is a huge thing for them. But if Liverpool show the quality going forward, I think Liverpool have more than Newcastle. Although I love Isaac, I think he's fucking brilliant. But I think Liverpool have more quality all round to call on. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be an intense game. It's a cup final, so they're always intense. I think it'd be quite high paced. I think Newcastle look for it to be high paced. They played on Monday, travelled to London and played. We played on Tuesday. I don't think that has any bearing. Like I said earlier, I think it's 5 days for us, 6 days for them. It's going to be a brilliant game. I think it's going to be a really, really fucking good game. 2 sets of brilliant fans, and just bring it on. Like this is what you're in it for. This is what you're in it for. We could have been sitting here going, "Oh, we're playing Villa on Saturday in a league game, and the League Cup finals on. We should have beat Spurs in that semi-final, but we're not. We're going into this final. I think it's going to be brilliant. But I think it's going to be really impressive simply because of the form some players are in on some sides and the form they're in on other sides. So I think there's players on both sides that are in really good form, and then there's players that have on both sides where I go bit tired. Is it happening for them? The sort of way. And I think the matchup is excellent. The matchup is absolutely excellent, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made that neither of these two teams are going in at peak prowess. You talked about the West Ham game on Monday. It was 1-0 to Newcastle. It wasn't super convincing. I mean, that was just my opinion. But, if you look back at their history, they've conceded at least twice in the last 5 games that they've played. So they're not exactly the most solid that we've seen them. I think when they were playing earlier this year, they went on a run of form that I wasn't really expecting, where it felt like they were really clicking in terms of all their players. Kev, there's a lot of players that are kind of key to Newcastle that might be out for this weekend. And that includes Lewis Hall, that includes Sven Botman. You have, a couple of others that are sort of on the fringes. Anthony Gordon, that obviously is not an injury, but he's more of that daft red card that he did. How do you see that team setting up in terms of dealing with those injuries? Do you think that that's going to be a massive setback, or do you think, like Harvey Barnes is a good enough player to step up and we're not going to notice the difference?
Oh, there's a big difference. Harvey Barnes doesn't have the raw pace of an Anthony Gordon to scare the living daylights out of a centre-back when he's running at him. He's technically a really good footballer. We knew this at Leicester a couple of years ago, and I think Newcastle paid
linked.
Yeah, we were linked. Newcastle paid 35 million for him. And we all looked at it and thought, that's not a bad fee.
Didn't he get a long-term injury? Wasn't he flying and he was linked and people were going, he is dynamite.
Yeah.
And then he might have got a knee injury or something like that. And then Newcastle took him on. He is a good player, but Gordon has been probably their second best player this season, in fairness.
Easy. But look, I think I'm looking at their lineup from the game against West Ham the other night, and I think it'll be exactly the same. They went with Pope and goal. They went with Trippier at right back, Schär, Byrne, Livramento at left back, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Joe Linton across the midfield 3, with Jacob Murphy on the right, Isak and Harvey Barnes up front. And when they wanted to make changes, they only changed 3 because of the options that they had left on the bench. They had Sean Longstaff came on late. I mean, like the last couple of minutes. Joe Willock came on with 10 to go, and Callum Wilson came on with 10 to go. And that's probably the one thing that you look at over the two sides is they're missing their left side completely. Yes. I think Hall has been arguably...
Excellent.
If you're doing a great game against Mo Salah the last time they were at the field.
I think if you're doing a team of the season now, Hall would be up there as as arguably the best left back in the league this season. He's been that consistent.
You put him over Kirkus?
Yeah, I think he's been more consistent. The only thing, I mean, it's a toss-up. You can have this is what I mean. You're having a debate about him, and he's involved in that debate. But that left side with Hall and Anthony Gordon supplying Isak because Isak will occupy 2 centre halves. You cannot allow him to drift off into space where he can turn and get an early shot off or pick his head up and run at someone, because he can do everything. He's got it all in his pocket. So, and then you got Bruno Guimaraes trying to join from midfield as well. Tonali is more of a dictator. He can pass through the eye of a needle. He'll sit in front of the back four and try to dictate play. Joe Linton is just a brute, to be perfectly honest. He's a walking yellow card. But he's
the kind of guy that knows, for some reason, has the magical touch to not get a yellow card.
Yeah,
even though he deserves it every time.
He inherited the gene from Fernandinho.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and the thing is, it's crazy when you look at the fact that they bought him for 45 million. David can correct me. He was in around between 40
million pounds as a striker.
Yeah,
as a striker though.
And when he was playing in Holland, I think it was in Holland. He was banging goals.
I think it was in Germany.
Was it? But
in Germany.
But he was banging goals for fun.
That's an amazing conversion. The way that because he looks phenomenal in midfield
because he's got the physicality.
Presence. Yeah,
he's got the physicality, and he's technically a really good player. But he can crack a shot as well with his left foot. He can bang, and they're physically big and strong.
Yeah.
They've got height in the box with Burns, Schär, Joe Linton, Isaac. So from set pieces, they're a threat, and they can defend set pieces really well as well. But I don't know how they'll go at it, because that game against West Ham the other night, they were poor.
West Ham wasn't convincing at all.
No, they won it 1-0, and West Ham more than had their chances. They more than had their chances to get ahead in that game. But Newcastle this season, I think they've lost 9 in the league, and they've still managed to stay in and around I think they're 6th at the minute. So
that could change. Like it's 3 points probably between 6th and 4th.
They're only 2 points off City, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they're level on points with City.
Oh, well, there you go.
You know what I mean? It just goes to show how condensed the league is. But the position that we're in, genuinely, it's not a false position.
No.
It's not it's not a false position as such. It's not a false points total, because we didn't rob points off anyone this season. You go through some season, you're like you'll scrape a game and you'll win it, and you look back and we got away with this, we got away with that.
Well, it's like Forest last year, where Nunes had that last minute winner, and you're like, that was scraping through. I don't think we really had that.
We haven't had one, because when I was looking for that show last night, we were talking about moments of the season. I was scraping through the season to see for late winners, important goals, what have you. And I came back with the Brentford game, and it was Darwin Núñez. We got the 2 late goals, but we battered them. So that wasn't a robbery. But when I look at Newcastle, I'm like, yeah, they've got a couple of key injuries, but they've lost 9. So they're not as good as what they have been in previous years, but they're not a million miles away from it either. And on their day, they could be a proper handful. So I think they've got a good 11. I think they have to. If Newcastle are going to win this game, it's the 11 that start that are going to win it. If we go on to win it, we've got options off the bench that can affect it to go and win it. I think that's the difference between the two sides.
Yeah.
Other than the quality, the quality we have going forward, I think we're better. We're more we can be more clinical with Salah, but in general, I think defensively we're more solid. Midfield is a tough call. Their midfield is very good. So is ours. I think, but we also have the bench that we can affect change, and I don't think they've got that level of quality to be able to do that.
Yeah, Next Level LFC has a really good point here, where he says, I'd be worried if they had their fully fit squad and strongest 11 available. I agree. I think especially the way that we saw Gordon and Isaac really torment Virgil and Konate in that first December match of this year, we couldn't live with them. It was, we got lucky in terms of, well, actually, we didn't get lucky. We got unlucky in terms of Kelleher, missing that ball. But I thought that was a very evenly matched game. The fact that they have injuries is definitely, makes me feel a little bit more confident. But we have injuries as well. And going into this, Gav, Slot made it clear that, Trent's not going to be there. It looks like it's a relatively serious injury, which is a shame. You don't want to see it. He does expect Trent to be back before the end of the year. So hopefully that wasn't the last time we see him. But going into this match, I think there are some areas of concern here. There's some forwards that are out of form. You have the question of, is it going to be Kwanzaa? Is it maybe going to be Jones? Because Slot mentioned Jones in the press conference. There are question marks going into this team. I know that we often say that Slot has a first 11 and we all know what it is. How are you feeling about our squad going into this game now that we've kind of gone over Newcastle's squad?
Look, whatever comments I had about this time last year about our squad probably stands again because it's the exact same squad. When I look through it, I think the call it right back is huge. I really, really do. Look, Kwanzaa can go in there and he can do a job, but I don't like centre backs playing fullback. Right? I never have. I just it's just not me. It's like when people say, Joe Gomez can do a job at right back. Joe Gomez can do a right job at right back, but I don't want someone there to do a job. I want someone to be a right back. And I used to be fucking fuming watching Joe Gomez trying to be defend at the back post for Liverpool as a right back, because he was always used to being centrally focused and not looking over his shoulder for wingers, and he used to really fucking annoy me. And now I think of actually, I'm upset at you for asking me this question because I'm getting really upset. Centre backs are right back. Kev talks about the quality we have, and I agree, but I think for a lot of our players this season, I don't think it's in the forward areas. But what I mean is, I don't think they've been good seasons from them in terms of you can rely on those to do stuff for you. I think a couple of our forwards this season have been moments players. I think Jota's turned into a moments player across the season. And Darwin Núñez is definitely a moments player at the moment, because they're not constantly, for me, going in and going, do you know what? Darwin's going to go in today and we're going to play him in the next 5 and he's going to be excellent and he's a brilliant deputy to have. I'm not saying he's been poor, because as soon as you say anything about Darwin Núñez, everyone jumps from one side or the other and there's no kind of middle ground. But I think overall, if you looked at Darwin's season, you go, oh, but that moment and that moment, you're not picking out many games. You go, he was brilliant during that whole game. Not
reliable.
Yeah. You're not saying he's been brilliant through that whole game. It's when it comes to the squad, I'm happy with it. Why wouldn't you be? Look where they are. Look what they've done. You have to be happy with it. I think what you're looking from certain players at this weekend is you're looking for Virgil and Konate to be absolutely on it. Whoever's that right back, they don't have the Anthony Gordon thing to deal with, but Newcastle's way home in a lot of games is the link up between the man on the left-hand side and Alexander Isak. That's just how it is.
A slouch. He's still a very good player.
He's not, and he knows how to play for Newcastle. So I think we need people to be on this. My biggest concern, I'll be honest with you, my biggest concern is Liverpool go into this game and they go into it in an attitude where we're better than this, and they're missing Anthony Gordon, and they're missing fucking Lewis Hall, and they're missing Sven Botman, and such isn't that good, and he's not that fast. That's my concern. I think if Liverpool go in and go, these are really fucking good, we need to be at our top of our game and put everything on the line here on Sunday, because we don't play another game for, what is it, 2 weeks?
2 weeks,
is it over?
yeah. I mean, there are going to be players that are going to international.
Yeah.
They will be playing.
So it's really interesting with our squad. I agree with Kev though. I think we probably have more on the bench where you go, he could do something for you. Definitely. Like when I give me lineup, I can think of 1, 2, possibly 4 players that can come off the bench and do something for you. In the sense of win a game for you. I think there's probably others on the bench that can do something for you if you're looking to hold out a game. But I just keep going back to it. Just get me to 4:30 on Sunday. Give me the 2 11s and just let them go at it and see what happens.
All of the build-up, it can be kind of tedious. Kev, we were just talking a little bit about the right back situation, and we were talking about how you're kind of dealing with your 4th choice right back here, where it'd probably be Trent, then Bradley, then Gomez, and then maybe Kwanzaa. I think there are a few questions around the pitch. Maybe it's the right time to kind of work through our lineups. Starting at goalkeeper, even, I think there's a question to be asked about whether or not Slot kind of bucks the trend and decides to go back toward a first choice goalkeeper for a cup final, or if he stays loyal to Kelleher. Do you want to maybe go through what you think the lineup is going to look like and kind of give your reasoning behind those choices?
Yeah. It'd be Kelleher in goal. I'd be gobsmacked if he went away from that.
Gav has a quizzitive stare there.
No, he made two interesting statements when he was talking about right backs. He made the point that Newcastle are going to be playing two right backs, one at left back, one at right back. We could do the same.
Yes, he did.
Could
He
play
mentioned having like the strong foot on the left side.
Yeah, he could play Robertson at right back. And it wouldn't be too...
The idea of Tsimikas and Robertson together just gives me the heebie-jeebies, but go ahead.
It wouldn't be alien to Robertson, because every time we defend a set piece, he's on that side of the pitch, and he stays on that side of the pitch until the ball goes out of play. And sometimes that can take a few minutes, sometimes that can take, however, it's instant. But I don't think he'll go down that road. I would love it if he turned around and said he's going to play Curtis Jones at right back.
Jones has played against Newcastle as right back in the past.
Yeah, because I think...
And we've actually seen all options against Newcastle. Because if you go back to the December game, Kwanzaa started, and they tended to target him, actually. If you look back at that December game, he was actually the one that they really went down his side, and you saw a noticeable difference when Trent came on, which is not, to speak poorly on Kwanzaa, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind in terms of squad selection.
The reason why I would play Jones at right back is Newcastle's strength is the midfield three. He can drift comfortably from right back into midfield and play as a double six, allowing Szoboszlai and McAllister to push on and outnumber them in midfield 4v3. And that will, I think that in itself could dominate possession from there. And I trust Konate to be able to defend that half of the pitch if he needs to against Harvey Barnes over an Anthony Gordon. I think if it was Anthony Gordon, I think you probably would play with Kwanzaa, but I think it would be Jones. Then it'll be Konate, Virgil, Robertson, Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Salah, Jota, Diaz.
Okay.
The reason being, I think Gakpo is our highest scorer in the League Cup.
Didn't look fit the other day, unfortunately.
Exactly.
I mean, he does have 5 goals in this competition, and he could actually break the record for the most goals. But he looked like he couldn't run.
Yeah.
Like,
I
don't
think
even,
Neither did Diogo Jota, to be fair.
But I think he was on the bench as a break glass emergency option, and we needed to break the glass.
We did.
I think if we didn't need to, I don't think he'd have played, because he just didn't look like, even when he was moving, he didn't look like he was moving freely. And I don't think you need to be looking to get match sharpness into someone who's going to be going away with the Netherlands for 2 weeks. And to be fair, I thought Diaz didn't have a bad game against PSG. And I would rather see Diaz running at Kieran Trippier. Well, in fairness, I don't care who plays at left back.
I mean, anyone
either
that
one of them.
Kieran Trippier is going to be interesting. But I think Diaz's tricky feet. Yeah.
Look, Kieran Trippier is
Trippier play left back.
He's a top pro. He's an excellent.
I think it'll be Livramento on the right and Trippier.
I think it'll be Trippier on the right.
Okay.
I think it'll be Trippier on the right, and I think it'll be Livramento trying to do a job on Salah. I think they'll want Livramento on that side of the pitch to try to stop more cutting in it on his right. Trippier just won't have the pace to be able to handle Salah when Salah's moving. He just won't be able to live with him. So
Davey is saying Tino. I don't know.
Yeah, Tino Livramento.
Okay. Yeah. He's saying he's going to be on the left.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
No, I would have played him on the left anyway if I was anyhow. Just for that reason, just for Salah.
Okay. All right. So we've got your lineup. Kev, do you have any differences from Kev?
Yeah, I'd start Alisson in goal every day of the week.
Okay.
I've seen people in our Telegram group saying, look, as a club, we've played Kelleher and we've done all that. I completely understand that, but you see it all the time, and I suppose the proof being the pudding on Sunday is Klopp done a big thing last season where, and previous seasons where he's gone to finals and Kelleher's been his goalkeeper and he's played Kelleher, and I think he does it in 2 League Cup finals, doesn't he, with Kelleher last season? And
yeah, he had a real loyalty to Kelleher, but
he had a real loyalty to Kelleher as his club goalkeeper. I get that. Slot plays Alisson in the first leg against Spurs, but I understand that was a way of getting him back to fitness after a hamstring injury. The proof will be there on Sunday. How kind of how romantic he is about this idea of playing Kelleher throughout. You've seen it so many times throughout the years where a goalkeeper will play up to a semi-final and then look, the number one's back in.
All the time.
Everyone does it. If it was me, I'd be playing Alisson. Right, I've no problem with Caoimhín Kelleher, none whatsoever. And listen, yes, he makes a mistake away at Newcastle. Just catch the fucking ball. But he's extremely unlucky as well because Fabian Schär hasn't got a breeze what he's doing. He just hits off and manages to go across the goal. Right, it's not like it's some amazing finish. He just throws his foot and it manages to go in. I've no problem with Kelleher, but I will play Alisson. If you're asking me, I will play Alisson. But I'm completely okay if Kelleher's on the team sheet. I would go with Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, Konate, Robertson for the simple reason it'll explain itself a bit more later on in the team. That's what I go with.
Okay.
I would go with Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, and then I would go Salah, Diaz, Jones. Right?
Salah, Diaz, Jones. Okay.
Yes, I will
Would
play
you put
Jones.
Diaz through the middle, or would
I will put Diaz through the middle of the pitch. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think he suits this game. I think his pace suits this game. I looked at Jota the other night, and Jota looks like a man that's starting to look a bit broken by all his injuries, right? And I think it showed against physical, strong, confident centre backs the other night. I thought he was poor. I think Núñez is Núñez. I think he could go in and run them all over the place, right? And in fairness, he's had really good games against Newcastle, so maybe that they lean towards that.
He's had late appearances against Newcastle.
Yeah, but
he's had a full game against them.
Yeah, but I think the way he plays, I think the way he runs off them, I think his natural pace scares Newcastle to the point where they end up dropping deeper, and then I think that midfield has less of an effect on things. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And the reason I go with Jones is because I actually have a little thing where Liverpool might look to get those 3 centre backs narrow and allow a midfielder to go across there, literally drift this 3-man stroke 4-man midfield across the pitch and leave Salah and Diaz to be the main attacking. And a bit like Kev said, you can nearly outnumber them in midfield. We've seen a couple of weeks back where he done this, where Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch and Jones all started. I think we've done it away at Villa. Might have done it one or two at a time.
Too.
Yeah, where we basically say, right, listen, we're going to have Salah as your outlet. Diaz is going to be a problem for them. And we're going to make sure that these 4 not stay in a straight line, they stay in a kind of a diagonal where they close off the pitch. They use these 4 to close off the pitch. And that's where I think he might go with, because Núñez, you can come on and he can affect it. Gakpo can come on and affect it. Endo can come in and do your midfield work if you need to do it later on in the game. That's where I think I would go. I don't know what he'll fucking do. Could be anyone. He might walk out. Oh, jeez, who's that? Chiesa. Do you want to get him? Because literally, Gakpo went on the other pit. Now I felt a bit sorry for Gakpo the other night because he didn't know whether to go stick or twist. Do I back up this attack? And he kept getting caught ahead of the ball because we were fucking awful on the ball in the final third for the majority of that game. But listen, if he's bringing Gakpo on, he feels Gakpo can do 15, 20 minutes. It's obviously working towards this the weekend. I'd be surprised if he starts. I think I see in Davey in the chat saying, "Oh, please don't let the Gakpo start," because Gakpo's so physical.
Yeah,
he's so physical. He pins.
We really have missed him.
Yeah, we do, because what he does is, you have wingers that chalk on their boots, pull wide, and a fullback is like, "Oh fuck, I'll go over to you." What he does is he physically pins you. So when he gets the ball, it's hard to get it off him, and he does have the pace to go away from you, and he does have the shot on him. He's been brilliant this season. He's Liverpool's 2nd top scorer this season. But I just don't think there's enough in the tank for him to start. I think he might go with that little Jones thing. And
that'd be interesting.
I think that's why he might go. And it's say again.
Have we seen him at in that position at all this year? Would that be a new thing for him?
With Jones?
Klopp has done it before, but has Slot played him there yet?
With Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when they put the graphic up on the screen, it might show Jones left side of midfield, but I don't think that's how it's going to work.
I mean, he's usually
if you do that, it'll be 2 10s.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying is.
Yeah,
so you play your Gravenberch, you play your McAllister, and then you play these two ahead. But I think what happens is one goes that way and one goes the other. And what they usually do is they use that bank of 4 players, not in a straight line, but they use it to close off the pitch, where they say, right, you're gonna have to put a really long pass across this pitch, and by the time it gets across to that fella, we're going to be back in position. And I just think it helps that little problem I think we have at right back. I think it protects us a little bit more. It gives us an extra body where we can say to a McAllister and a Gravenberch, if you need to go over there and help, don't worry about it. Szoboszlai and Jones are in the middle of the park here. Yeah. Are we a bit short on the left-hand side? No, not really, because what we do is we pen them in, and they'll have to hit raking passes to get over there. And the amount of raking passes you're seeing, that's amazing. And next of all, they're all back in position. I just think that's where he might go with it. But goalkeeper, I'm absolutely fine whatever goalkeeper he plays, but I will play Alisson. And I think then you have enough off the bench, which are Endo, possibly a change at left back, even an Endo coming in at right back, and you do something there if you want to. But that's where I would go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a shout for Endo. We might need Endo to come on for Konate if he doesn't have 90 or God forbid 120 minutes in him. We might need to have that kind of backup in terms of center back, because we are a little bit short in our defensive kind of reinforcements, especially if we're playing Kwanzaa at right back. We might need to save Endo for that. Okay, so we've talked about the lineups. I'm going to look for goal scorers from you next. One thing that's interesting about Mo Salah is that he does not have a great record at Wembley. He has a 4% conversion rate at Wembley. So it's 1 goal for 27 shots, but he is very prolific against Newcastle. So you kind of have these two opposing facts here. So I'm curious, Kev, are you thinking that Mo Salah is going to be able to kind of get rid of this little slump that he's been in? Do you think he's going to be able to, have that moment that we all want him to have kind of at the end of the season? Hopefully it's not his last season, but, are you banking on him for a goal scorer, or where do you think the goals are coming from?
I think you have to. Look, I think we win it 3-1.
Okay. That would be a pretty amazing scoreline for a cup final, because we haven't really had that.
Yeah, but I think Salah's well capable of getting either 2 or 1 and 1. Goal and assist. He's got a fantastic record against Newcastle.
Yes,
he should have the beating of his fullback, and if he can beat his fullback and pull Dan Burn out of position, that forces Joe Linton to be a lot more defensive. That frees up space for Szoboszlai to run into, and he'd be my other goal scorer. I think Szoboszlai would get 1, and I can see Salah getting 2.
I mean, I would love that. I would love to be comfortable in this game and not. I feel like we always end up going to extra time and penalties, and it's just I don't know. I can't deal with penalties twice in a week. Okay, so I'm on board with that. Gav, what do you have for score predictions and goal scorers?
I'm liking the 4% conversion rate. Is that goal the one away at Spurs in the 4-1 defeat when he half hits it across the goal?
I believe so. I believe
that's wasn't a great finish.
It's a pretty poor record, but if anyone likes breaking records, it's Mo Salah. So
yeah. I see that lad Dallas is back in the chat.
Hey,
you picked the wrong night. Come on, bud. I'm here. Don't fucking test me. And I'm not as polite as the rest of them. So just
they'd want to be worried about qualifying for the Champions League next season. Not a mind.
Careful.
Looking up above you.
Prediction was, I don't think it goes to extra time.
Okay. Thank goodness. I
think there might be a decisive winner in this, because it could go either way. I think if Newcastle go in front, I think it could be a frustrating day for Liverpool. And Newcastle, with all this behind them and the history of not winning a trophy, will want to do everything to win it. And that's where I am on that. I think if I was if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I'm doing Liverpool by the odd goal. Especially if Liverpool go in front. I think if Liverpool go in front, I think Liverpool could hurt them badly, because I think Newcastle, the players they have on their side, want to go and get that goal back. I don't think Newcastle sit and go like a Premier League game against, a Liverpool against Southampton, where Southampton go 2-0 down or 1-0 down and go, we'll just hang on to the last 5 and then launch it in the box. I don't think Newcastle have that in them.
Final. Anything goes.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool, with Newcastle scoring late and making it a bit of a mad finish. And I think Szoboszlai scores. I don't think Salah scores. I think Szoboszlai scores. And I think Curtis Jones scores.
That'd be nice.
Because I'm going to go if he starts.
After that penalty,
in my head,
well after that, where he talked about stepping up and not being able to live with himself if he didn't try. I would love to have him have that moment in the sun.
I think Curtis Jones, if it's the team I think it's going to be, or hope it's going to be, I'm going with Curtis Jones. If Curtis Jones doesn't start, I think it's Luis Diaz that scores. Okay. So that's I'm kind of cheating there a bit, but I'm not. It all depends. No, do you know what? I'll stick with Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai to score. But I think Salah will have a big say. But yeah, I'll go with that.
Do either of you think that any of our sort of reserve players are going to come on and really make an impact? Maybe say an Elliott or a Nunes, or I think Endo is probably going to come on and hopefully shut it down. Kev, do you think that any of them have a shout in terms of really stamping their authority on this match, or are you thinking it's going to be done by that point?
I hope it's done by that point.
I hope so.
I could see Harvey Elliott having an impact.
Okay.
He's the type of player that could give Newcastle problems in the last 15, 20 minutes. Someone who can pick the ball up in midfield, who can run with it, lay it off and make runs into the box, or you can pick a pass or have a shot from on the edge of the box. I always liked him as a player. I like the way he plays. I like that type of player anyway. But no, I think every which way I look at it, we should have enough. Gav's right in what he said. It's like, as long as you turn up with the right attitude, you apply yourself. How many times do you say it? Application, application, application. If you do your job properly, we're better than them. But we've seen with cup finals, last year we won it against the odds in a big way, and it was huge for us. And it set us up I'm convinced it set us up for this season, because it gave that squad the confidence that it can do it against the odds. And this is a good Newcastle side. So that the fact that they'll have that in the back of the head, the fact that they'll know they'll have to be on it, and they'll want to go and win it, for themselves more than anything. So I think it'll be done hopefully by 70 minutes, and we can enjoy the last 20. I'd be delighted with that.
Amazingly refreshing.
Yeah. It would be weird, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I really like the idea of it being, routine is probably not the right word, but something where my heart is not palpitating for the last, 15 minutes would be fantastic. All right. Well, I think that we've kind of gone through that in detail. Are there any sort of final thoughts, Gav, in terms of, what this might mean for Slot really, if he was to get his first trophy, what it might do for the rest of the season, just in terms of, maybe have the goalposts shifted a little, pardon the pun, now that we're out of the Champions League? Do you think that this becomes a more important trophy? Do you think that this really accelerates us in terms of just finishing the season with a bang? I don't know. What are your final thoughts in terms of, going into this weekend?
Look, a trophy is a trophy at the end of the day. And I'm like, as much as I've told you that, I'll just let the game go and see what happens, because I think there's bigger things for Liverpool in the next month to 6 weeks. And that is true. But at the same time, I bang on all the time about the League Cup and how important it can be for managers, especially, to get that on the board. It's always the first opportunity to win a trophy. unless they come into a team in March and they have a chance to be still winning an FA Cup or a league, but that's fairly rare. So it's always their first chance to win a trophy, and we seen what it kicked off for Chelsea, and when they beat us in 2005, what it led to, for Jose Mourinho, and didn't it? It was meant to kick off Eric Ten Hag, wasn't it? Didn't he win the League Cup in his first season and the FA Cup in his second? So, but that was meant to be the kick on for them, and I think when you see clubs or a manager coming in and winning the League Cup, you're like, geez, you know what? You might have thought, how good is he? And he's gone and done this, and it just gives you a freedom towards the end of the season, no matter what you're in, where you say, we've won that. It's brilliant. It's something to build on, regardless of what goes on. But Liverpool are in a position where if they win this, they're more than likely winning the league as well. And I think it's an unbelievable season for Arne Slot. But I don't think if he was to lose on Sunday, you go and win the league and go, yeah, but Arne, you lost that final. He won't give two fucks about anything if he lifts the league title. So it's more of a thing where he can. I think it's like an extra present to him. I think it's an extra bonus to him. I don't think he'll dictate Liverpool's league season at all. But it'll be one where he'll sit back at the end of the season and go, the league is absolutely brilliant. But you know what? I got to use my players in that League Cup, and we got through it, and some great games in that as well. So it's a trophy at the end of the day, and I want to win it. If he wins it, brilliant, because I think he stacks the Premier League on top of it. And if he stacks the Premier League on top of the League Cup, it's an unbelievable season.
Yeah. I remember, Kev, when we were chatting at the very beginning of the season, and we were talking about league ambitions, and we were talking about where we thought Slot might finish in terms of his first season. And I think a lot of us agreed that top 4, maybe 1 trophy. And to be able to do that potentially this weekend, just in terms of closing up this today in our conversation, how does that feel for you, for the possibility of Slot being able to do that? Because for us, that was lofty. That was ambitious. For him to be able to deliver that in March feels like quite an accomplishment.
I think Arne Slot and this squad are massively overachieving. I think what they're potentially could do by the end of this season, rack up a 97-point league run, win the league out of sight. It's not. We'll blow this league away. That's ridiculous. That doesn't happen very often, even in Man City when they were in their pomp. They never. It's exceptional. It really, really is. And to have done it with a squad that he inherited, that he remolded into what he wanted to do, and attacked 4 trophies. I mean, yeah, look, the FA Cup, he made a gamble. He played a gamble and lost. But in the other 3, we had 7 wins in the Champions League this season, not good enough, eventually knocked out by a side who were well capable of going on to win it. And you're in a domestic cup final as well, in your first season, and you haven't really spent a bob. It's a massive overachievement for me. It's unbelievable what he's done. Nobody in their right mind would have predicted, apart from Matt. And Matt is just like,
Matt always has, the glass half full attitude.
Yeah, but I would have looked at anyone at the start of the season and said, yeah, Liverpool are going to win a double. And I looked at him and can I have 2 points of that, please? Because, yeah.
I think we all did. We all kind of thought, that seems like a bit of a reach.
I'm pretty sure when I did my predictions, I had us down to finish 3rd. And the reason I said 3rd is because, look, and it is a good squad.
It is.
And Arne Slot is a good manager.
And it's performing very similarly to where it was last year.
I think we're 3 or 4 points better off than where we were at this time last season. Mm-hmm. So he didn't have to change, but he did. He didn't have to change much, but he really did. From the very outset, he changed everything. We saw it in pre-season. How he wanted to evolve this side. And I think the more games that we saw in pre-season, the more we were looking at it, and we could be onto something here. I don't think any of us had ideas that we were going to go and win the league, even at 3-4 games in. But you knew that we were going to be challenging again because of the way we were playing. And it's so it's turned out to be. I'm really looking forward to the next 3 years of this squad, seeing how it evolves, seeing what we do, see who Richard Hughes brings in, see how he manages change. Because so far, you made a great point the other night when we were talking about it. If he'd have gone on and won a Champions League, won a league, won a domestic cup, how do you top that? What he's seen the other night against PSG is there are things he can improve on, and he can get better. But in fairness, winning a double is good enough at the minute. I'll take that all day long.
He's definitely overachieving, and I think that that's kind of the prevailing message. And I mean, I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't. And speaking of overachieving, I need to mention Pete because he has 2 projects going, and he is overachieving beyond any of us here in the show. And I know we've gone on about it quite a bit, but I'm just going to mention it one more time. He is playing Phil Lynott. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher it.
Everyone says Lynott, but
how do you pronounce it?
Pete is adamant. Well, everyone in Dublin says Phil Lynott. Everybody.
Okay.
But Pete is adamant. It's Philip Lynott, as he calls him. He
so
doesn't even call him Phil.
Right the first time.
It's just Pete being a prick.
Okay.
Just call him Phil Lynott.
Anyways, he's got this great Enigma show going at Vicar Street in Dublin in June. I believe the earlier shows are sold out. So if you're interested in that and you want to check him out, feel free to grab tickets to that. He also has a great new film, again, overachiever to the max, called Code Red Spain, which is going to be released later this year. And there are trailers out there as well. And again, he's kind of showing us all up. He can sing, he can dance, he's good looking and whatever. So anyways, we would love you to support him. We would also love you to support our Patreon because that's a very new venture. And we are officially going live, I believe, on our very first live Patreon tomorrow, which is the last 20, which is going to be the last 20 minutes of the afternoon games. Some of you might have already seen it where, I kind of sit here like this in the middle of games and scream and make, noises that nobody really wants to hear. Thankfully, we're not watching Liverpool.
Kev does that as well.
Kev does it too. His are way more, interesting. But thankfully, we're not watching Liverpool this time. So I can watch with a little bit more of ease. But yeah, so if you want to check that out, we're going to be doing that tomorrow. Again, it's just the last 20 minutes. And then we also obviously have all of our post-match coverage on Sunday from all of this. And hopefully we're talking about a win because I don't know. I've got a good feeling about this. I think the guys seem to have a good feeling about this. I just think that this team is it's doing some fantastic stuff. And I just want to make sure that we get back into winning ways and get back into that positive feel that we had kind of before this week started. I would personally love to go into the international break just feeling that sense of just pride for our guys because they've just been doing such a fantastic job. But I think that's where we're going to wrap it up tonight.
One sec. Something just came out there tonight. It came out from the post-match or from the post press conference interviews. Paul Gorst talking about Virgil van Dijk. It's not a 1, 2, 3 discussion, and there we go. There are multiple factors, and as long as I'm calm, then there's no need to panic. Virgil van Dijk would consider re-signing as a free agent if new Liverpool deal isn't agreed before the current one expires.
Okay, well, that was Kev with a bombshell at the very end of the show.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I do think it was really
There's no
actually that Slot came out today in the press conference and he said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I want Virgil van Dijk to be here. And I think that in terms of making a public statement, it would be very odd for Slot to make a statement that would then go against his bosses, his new bosses, if they were to say, oh no, we're not going to sign Van Dijk. So that's just how I read it. I think it's very interesting the way that he decided to put that on public display today, because I don't see Slot going against whether it's Edwards, whether it's Hughes, whether it's FSG, whether it's, whoever you want to take it. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to take a stand.
So hold on. Paul Gorst is saying that Virgil van Dijk will consider re-signing for Liverpool as a free agent if it doesn't happen by the time his contract runs out. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Pete makes a good point. Is there a sign-on bonus if that happens?
But it's not even that. Hold on a minute.
Like the
Hold on a minute.
monkey wrench in the whole situation.
Kev, why did you do this to me at 11:10 at night? Right?
I know, I was doing so well. I'm new at this hosting.
So is Virgil
that was
just
a
sitting
really good outro?
Is Virgil turning into Peter Adam Wingy here, where he's just sitting outside Anfield like Peter Adam Wingy did at Loftus Road when he wanted to move from West Brom?
I think he might have switched agent to Harry Redknapp. I think he might have switched agent to Harry Redknapp.
Hold on, is he genuinely sitting there now going, "Hey, give me a contract"? No, we're not paying you what you want. But okay, then look, I'll be back to you next week. No, look, you're not getting it. And then
I just need a week in the Maldives. I'll be back and I'll sign as a free agent.
And then just going, listen, you're out of contract now, and knocking on the 4th of July, going, I'll sign that deal now. Like, that's nonsense. That's fucking ridiculous.
Well, hang on. Okay, let's just.
Is there context? There probably needs to be context.
What's in quotes, I don't think is coming from Virgil. I think what's in quotes is what's coming from Slot. It might be from Virgil, I don't know, but it's in quote marks. So it's
Virgil didn't do a thing today, did he?
And he might have done a sit-down interview with the papers. You don't know.
No. This is the embargo section that you're reading.
Right. Well, it's this is what I'll read it again. It's not a 1, 2, 3 discussion, and there we go. There are multiple factors, and as long as I'm calm, then there's no need to panic. So I think it is Virgil's quotes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking at the echo right now. So Virgil says, listen, it's definitely the case. So we will see what happens. Maybe I will run this contract fully down, and then there is no news. I don't know. I don't know at this stage. And I said the other day after the PSG game, but I don't want to create any anxiety or anything like that. I just keep my head down and focus on hopefully winning the next 10 games. And this is my full focus, to be there for the manager, the players, and the fans. So let's see what it brings. And I'm sure by the end of the season, there will be news. But what kind of news, I am not sure. At the moment, I cannot see myself at another club because there are still 10 games to go. I cannot think about what's going to happen after the summer. Like I said, the most important thing is to stay committed, and I am fully committed to Liverpool Football Club at the moment, and there is no doubt about that. You can see it, and there's nothing that is going to change that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Kev, you just threw like a giant bomb in the hills today. We were doing so well. I was at like 1 hour on the dot.
You can bully Chris all you like, but you leave me alone.
Oh my God.
But the thing is, right? So basically, if you read between the lines there, he's saying, look, there's a lot of factors involved. It might run down. But my big thing over this is nobody's walking away from the table here. No. Like, nobody's coming out and going.
Everyone is still talking.
No, but that's the thing. And look, you're going to get
wild to think that like it's gotten to this point. I don't know. I mean, we've seen
but to be fair, right? To be fair, the longer it goes on, you're going to look for people to come out and say things. And I think Virgil's probably trying to say to people, listen, don't worry about it. We're going to go and do this, and we're going to go and do that, and we get it. It'll get sorted one way or the other. I'm not telling you it's going to get sorted like in a positive way or a negative way, but it's a bit mad that nobody's left the table here. Like, because let's be fair, I've said this since the 4th of January. Any of them players, right, can get in their car tomorrow, can drive to a hotel, meet whatever representative of whatever club in the world, bar the English ones, and go, yeah, give us the deal. Boom, signed, I'm out. Because that's the law.
Yeah.
And none of them have. Even the guy that was nailed on to sign for Real Madrid is still sitting here without signing a deal. And to be fair, the bullshit that's gone around about Trent, he's every right. You could turn around and go, fuck, I've signed it.
I'll tell you one thing.
He's got a busted ankle now, too. You never know.
That's the thing. For years, any player, when they were running down their contract, that was their biggest risk. That there's every chance that they could pick up an injury.
It looks like it's a high ankle sprain too, which is not something you're going to mess around. That's not.
No, but it can, any kind of an injury that could scupper a potential deal in the summer can happen to any of them. You know, I mean,
but I go back. But Kev, I go back to this when it's all started, like probably October, November, when it really started to heat up, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I know.
Like, literally, nothing me or you or Ashley or anybody says or anybody go, I think this, and you know, well, this is definitely what's happening. don't worry about it. It's not going to make a fucking blind bit of difference as to the actual outcome, right? And to be fair, if they go and win the league title, if they all want to leave, so be it. You know what I mean? But honestly, so be it, because we don't know. Are they asking for astronomical money and the club are saying no? Or if they're offering for reasonable money and the club are saying no, right? We don't know. Or the club are offering reasonable or good money and they're saying no. We don't know who's pushing against who here. But at the end of the day, there's 4 parties in this, the football club and the 3 players. And all 4 parties haven't walked away here.
Exactly.
So there's something's going on down the line. But
No, it's
nobody,
about it.
Nobody knows either what kind of business Richard Hughes and the club want to do in the summer, and how much do they have to compromise those deals in order to pay the wages or to keep the players that are going out of contract. We don't know. It's not as simple as give X player that contract. It's still got to fit in with an overall budget.
Of course it does. But your budget,
so it's not as there's a lot of moving parts.
Much bigger. The spend is much bigger if you get rid of them 3 and try to replace them.
In the short term, yes. In the long term, no.
Well, I think if you're going to make a splash, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting the number of times that Slot's been mentioning money recently, whether it's, with PSG or just in general. Like, he's been mentioning it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's more to the story.
It's fair when you're talking about PSG, because the amount of money that PSG spend in comparison to the league that they're in and every other club in that league don't earn anywhere near as much money as PSG.
No, you can't even get a TV deal in the fucking league.
If it wasn't for PSG being in that league would be screwed. They're desperate for. It's kind of like Celtic and Rangers being in the SPL. Without Celtic and Rangers, there is no SPL, because they're the only 2 clubs that anyone cares about. It's the same with Liverpool and Manchester United in the Premier League. There's a reason why those 2 clubs get the majority of the media attention and they get the majority of the TV money, because everyone wants to watch them around the world. There are big clubs, there are other attractions in the Premier League, but let's be honest. It's Liverpool and Manchester United are by a country mile the 2 biggest clubs in the Premier League. And it's a fair drop to Arsenal being the next one. So it's going to be interesting to see what Liverpool do in the summer, whether they stay or go, because there's definitely other investments that need to happen this summer as well. I think, look, next 12 months.
Whatever will be, right? But the only true thing in this matter is that none of them players or the football club have got ahead of this. And what I mean by that is, if the football club were offering really good money to them 3, and the 3 of them are going, no, you can add another 50 grand a week onto that, you can bet your bottom dollar, right, that the couple of journalists that they use to be absolutely reliable will be out in front of this for the football club. There's no doubt about it, because that's what they're there for.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Because if you go out and get in front of this for us, they get the information for it down the line, right? Yeah. There's 2 of them at the moment that really do it. Don't mind fucking Paul Gorst, right? There's 2 of them that do it at the moment. It's the fellow I hate at the Athletic, Ornstein, and it's the other guy that's the main fella, always has been. What's his name?
Paul Joyce.
No one knows what he looks like. Paul Joyce. Yeah, that's it. He's like, what's your man's name that does the fucking the spray painting around London?
Banksy.
Yeah, that's Banksy, basically what Joyce is, right? He's literally the journalistic version of Banksy.
Oh,
so listen, if the football club wanted to put their story forward, it would be out by now, and they won't. And the club, people will say, "Oh, but there's a league title to be won and stuff like that." Trust me, if the club thought that it was going to leak out tomorrow that the club are offering pittance to these players, they wouldn't like it. They'd be out in front of it. That's their job.
And if the players wanted to get that out, Mo Salah has an agent that has no problem in getting out in front of stuff.
And to be fair, but
Trent and Virgil were no strangers to media either. So
listen, there's nobody walked away from the table here. Is that good or bad? I haven't a fucking clue, but I don't care.
The less we hear about it, the better, to be honest. At this point in the season, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything until the end of the season. Because it's just excuses for, why we're not doing well or why we do this. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't think we need to. I think the fact that even all of this shit is going on behind the scenes and we're still doing so well is credit to Slot and credit to these players.
Leave them to it, because look, it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't. It's not going to do any good at this point.
Well, I say it doesn't matter. I don't want to sound like a condescending in that way. It does matter, because they're brilliant players for Liverpool, right? But at the end of the day, right, if Liverpool win the league and these 1, 2, or 3 players leave, right, come the 17th of August or whenever the league kicks off, we'll all be back here.
Yeah,
we'll all be back here going, right, we can do this and we can do that and boom, 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 boom. But listen,
exactly.
I'm going to stay optimistic for as long as possible. I'm going to try to drink a little bit of the juice that Matt's drinking, because we saw last year, we thought the world was going to end when Klopp left, and it didn't, and we have this whole new thing that we never saw coming. I hope that we don't have to lose all 3 of them, but it's kind of immaterial for what we're doing this weekend. And what we're doing this weekend is hopefully winning a fucking trophy.
Yeah.
And I need to get this back on track, because otherwise we'll be here all night. If they
win one trophy this weekend and they go on and win the second one that we think they'll win, right? Let the contracts go then. See what happens. Just make a fucking decision. I think the biggest.
I think that's what will happen.
The biggest frustration over this is that nobody's fucking saying anything. But at the same time, that's a good thing, because no one's, like I said, walking away or yeah. But I think go and win the league. Like, but the thing is, right, Liverpool winning the league doesn't fucking matter a jot to these contracts. Like, it doesn't, because the only thing is, it's not even timing. Why wouldn't you turn around if Liverpool won the next 3 league games? That's the perfect time to go. And by the way, all these 3 are staying and we're 1 win away from the title. You know what I mean? It's perfect, but it's not happening like that. They're not running side by side, these 2 issues. They just aren't. People think, oh, well, we're not releasing because of this and we're not releasing because of that. Imagine the boost that it give you for them 3 players to say they're staying going into this Sunday. It's the perfect time to do it. But there you go. Right. Antoine says, Gavin, you'll have brainwashed Ashley. Go fuck yourself, Antoine, all right?
I will say,
I said it in the nice possible way.
This has been 1 year of me on this channel to the day, which has been kind of amazing. And I did want to mention, just thank you to Gav for inviting me on, and thank you to Kev for putting up with me. And I want to say thank you to Chris, but Chris has been giving me a really hard time recently.
Yeah, so, Chris is a prick.
Don't mind Chris.
I don't want to be mean to Chris. Chris had
swanning
a really
around Anfield today, telling people they won and all.
3-1. He had a fantastic game today. But anyways, I just want to say thank you to everyone here, everyone in the chat, for just, letting me be part of this community, because it's pretty freaking amazing. You guys are amazing. So yeah, I'm going to close the show on that, because otherwise we will be here for another, half an hour, and then I'm
because Kev will read another fucking.
I fucking won't. My phone isn't, by the way. That's
controlling.
I don't even know why I picked up my phone in the first place.
4 minutes past 11, right? That's it. Now have a nice weekend. No, hold on. Let me drop this on you.
Everyone, just we're gonna be great.
Can I just ask one more question?
Okay.
Kev, are you pressing the outro or am I?
I'll do it.
All right,
okay.
So
I am not in charge if someone presses the wrong outro button, because
either am I, and I hope he does. I hope he presses the wrong one.
It wasn't me. I have no controls. My hands are here. I do nothing.
Oh, he done it. He done well.
I haven't done it all yet.
Hold on. Come on, Kev. Nope. Nope.
This is awful.
Press end and end again, Kev.
Oh no.
That's it. End stream.
Okay.
There you go.
No, it's still on, Kev.